Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of The Yard Sign, Florida's original political podcast. Your host, as always, Johnny Torres. Thank you so much for watching whenever, wherever you may be doing so. No Aníbal David Cabrera today. He's on medical leave, but we're still running late nonetheless. Go figure. Not filling his shoes because, man, he's got big feet. But, finally, the Puerto Rican we've been talking about for the past couple episodes. Excited to have you here. Marcos Rivera joining us on the show today. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good.
All right, pull the mic a little closer to you. We are going to take it nice and easy this show. We're not going to get too crazy. But, we've known each other over the past number of years. We've crossed paths, and what I find really interesting about you is, again, that, we've crossed paths politically, but at times we've been on the same side. At times we've been on opposite sides. To me, that's fascinating, right? Because that's something that's more common, I would think, in Latin American countries than it is here, because here it's A or B, right? In Latin American countries, or most countries around the world, it is there's multiple parties, right? And so from election to election, you could quite literally change who you're supporting in regardless of what party they belong to, because there's more options, right?
Exactly.
And hey, look, I certainly agree that I wish we had more competition in that space. But we're such a large country that it would be incredibly expensive to start a third or a fourth party to kind of diversify, the options. Will we get there some point? Probably. I think so. Who knows? Maybe it's just wishful thinking. But how you doing, man?
Doing good. And that's a good point. In South America, it's funny how Puerto Rico works.
Yeah.
And South America, and I've been to Colombia several times. I've been to Costa Rica, and it is copy and paste of how politics is in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
It is, every politician is judged on three things: on garbage pickup, on paving new roads,
right,
or the old roads and repaving, and like new asphalt. And the third one is how cool and big the party is every year in Christmas time.
God. I thought you were going to say statehood.
Yeah, no. No. In Puerto Rico, it's majority statehood already.
Yeah.
So everyone is like,
Well, and that's the thing. A lot of people don't know that Puerto Rico has many times already voted for statehood, and our Congress has been the one to ignore it, which is unfortunate.
It's been tough because, when other people from other countries go to Puerto Rico, they say it is a midway point between South and Central America and U.S. It's like you took the U.S. and Central America and just kind of blended them, and that's what you get.
And that's the thing. I didn't want to imply that Puerto Rico wasn't part of the United States when I call it Latin America, but, I just mean culturally it's part of Latin America.
It is.
And now, to what you just said, we are going to talk a little bit about what is happening in Latin America politically as one of our topics today. But and Puerto Rico kind of fits perfectly right into that story. So we're going to get to that in just a little bit. Again, for those of you watching, we are live on YouTube, live on Facebook. You can also find us on all the major podcast platforms: iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even Amazon. So make sure that you subscribe. Please subscribe. We love our subscribers. Our numbers are just going through the roof. And it's all because of you guys. So thank you so much for watching, liking, and subscribing our videos. Especially after a hiatus, you know what I mean? When you've taken time off, we took 2 years off, man, and went by so quick. We were worried, I was worried, that how are people going to receive it? Does anybody care? Do we still have an audience? And the numbers have just been fantastic. They've been amazing.
I've noticed people want politics, but they want it fed to them like baby birds.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys have been doing, and you've been doing a great job.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're a part of it now.
Awesome.
So we're going to have you and Travis kind of be, part of the regulars on the show. And obviously, you got a seat at the table every show. Yeah. Now I know, again, life happens, and so you may not be here for every show, but again, the seat is yours. Awesome, and so we are excited to have you. Yeah. And again, shout out to producer Mike running the ones and twos back there. Let's go ahead and get into today's topic, if you will. And I just made him change the camera angle. While he pulls that up, again, we are also looking at implementing, which is why I was telling you to call me the other day during the show. Because we do have that ability. We've just never rolled it out.
Okay.
But that is something I would like to introduce pretty soon in terms of having folks call in and contribute to the show. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
There's a lot of people driving that want to let a lot of stuff out.
Well, especially during this time of day, right?
Exactly.
You're stuck in traffic. It's like, what else are you going to do? So as you can see there for today's topics, Trump taking on Venezuela. And that's, of course, what we were just talking about. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Why are Telegram leaks the young Republicans in hot water as they had some Telegram conversations get out, and it is ugly. It is really ugly. And so we're going to talk about that from a few different angles because there's the what's interesting isn't what's happening now. It's basically the consequences that come from this, in the future. And so we'll kind of slice that up a little bit, pretty well, so you can get an idea of how this is really going to affect politics long term, even though it seems like a small story. But trust me, the fallout is going to be pretty big. And Tampa Baker for MVP, Baker Mayfield putting Tampa Bay back on the map after only a couple of years of coming off a Super Bowl win with Tom Brady. I'm going to do my best, along with Marcos here, to talk a little bit of football and give kind of a general sports fan perspective as to kind of the temperature in the room here in Tampa Bay as they have the best record in football right now.
That's awesome.
It's incredible. I mean, in only his second year with the team, right? Second year with the team. Yeah. And ironically, my football expert sitting on the other side of the camera. But someone who, again, they're calling it, maybe the comeback of this century. You know what I mean? Because of the trajectory of his career, and how a lot of people had pretty much, including Colin Cowherd, one of the most famous voices in sports, had told him to retire. It's like, dude, just give it up, man. Your career's done. So we're gonna pick apart. We're gonna talk a little football today on the yard sign. So I'm excited about that. Trump taking on Venezuela as, and I hate how that these stories get out in the first place, but it's all over the news. New York Times, I think, broke the story. Possibly Reuters is where I'm looking at it right now. Trump authorizing CIA operations in Venezuela, raising the pressure on Maduro. And we mentioned this briefly on the last episode, I believe, which is that this is the entire reason that Marco Rubio is at the State Department. Trump brought Marco Rubio into the State Department specifically to focus on the Western Hemisphere, because we've had decades where we have ignored quite intentionally everything happening in our hemisphere. And I think that we needed somebody to come in like Trump and just straighten things out.
Yes.
Because South America is a mess.
It's a mess, and it is, how would I say this? It is a very rich mess. And the reason corruption is so prevalent is because there's lots of money down there.
Right.
It's a lot of money. When you see China,
a lot of resources.
When you see China coming over here and knocking on doors trying to get, it's because there's something there.
Well, and they've infiltrated Venezuela. I know I'm pretty sure, I believe they have a presence in Colombia.
Very sure.
And so a lot of these countries, especially kind of like the further down they go economically, the more of a presence China's had, because it's part of what China has been doing all over the world, which is going to these countries that don't have the resources to build or rebuild their infrastructure and saying, hey, you let us own it. Yeah. We'll foot the bill and we'll build whatever you want. Yeah. And they're building roads and bridges and all this kind of stuff. And meanwhile, they don't realize they're giving their country away.
It's a sweet deal. It sounds like a sweet deal in the beginning, but down the line, you've got, and one of the things that we forget, I don't know if you know much about Guyana, but Guyana is one of those overlooked countries. So I know a couple months ago I looked at the population density, so per capita in terms of wealth, Guyana's the richest country in South America.
Wow.
Because of their gold and their oil.
Wow.
And no one talks about Guyana.
Right.
Guyana's like
Yeah, they're flying below the radar.
Completely. And it's funny because they are West Indian population, which, immigrant Indians and black, and they're very, very mixed. My two oldest kids are half Guyanese, so I know a lot about Guyana. And it's been destroyed with corruption for years and years and years. But it is a super, super wealthy. I mean, they've got minerals, they've got gold, they've got precious metals, they've got all kinds of stuff.
But it's all in the hands of the corrupt.
It's in the hands of people that shouldn't have control over that. But China's also knocking on their door.
Well, see, and that's the thing. For anybody that's younger than us, they don't remember what Venezuela was like before Chavez, right? They don't remember what an economic powerhouse, how rich Venezuela was in the later part of the last century, which I know makes us sound really old, but because of the oil, you know what I mean? They were the largest producer of oil in South America. And you went there and it was almost like a franchise of America.
It was. It really was.
I mean, one of my best friends growing up in high school was from Venezuela, and he goes, dude, Venezuela's not that different, because he spoke great English, and he was already familiar with a lot of the restaurants and things like that. And he goes, Venezuela's not that different than the United States. We have Burger King, McDonald's, like you name it. Like they had all the same things. It was just down there. And you go there now, and the rate at which that country has deteriorated is just appalling.
I call it our Gaza Strip.
Right.
Hispanics Gaza Strip, because it is.
Yeah, they've essentially turned it into a larger Cuba.
It is. Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. It's the thing is, the country is, I guess, through ignorance, it's become what it's become because of, these failed political parties. But the people are not as ignorant, because the people are fresh to this.
Yeah.
The Cubans, when you look at Cubans, they're 20, 30, 40, 50 years into it. They're kind of used to the status quo.
Yeah.
Venezuelans there are still like, hey, Trump, come do something. Well,
they're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because there are Cubans that have come to Miami, and when they realize, oh, wait a second, I got to have a job now.
You got to work.
I got to work like 40 hours a week now to like maybe make a living. I might have to have 2 or 3 jobs. Like they're like, screw this, and they go back. And that's actually a lot of how these they call them like Social Security benefits, but it was a lot of like this welfare money that was being given to the Cubans, because that was the other thing that a lot of folks, and you can back me up on this, from other countries, who migrated here, they're like, well, why do the Cubans get everything?
Yeah.
Because they were literally, as soon as that they were given their residency status, or I don't even know, I think maybe they just got citizenship right away.
Not sure.
But they were given all of the resources that being an American provides, and
more,
and then some.
Puerto Ricans would come; their American citizens would come here, and they just have to go to work.
Yeah, exactly.
And one of us. So
what they were doing was they'd come over here illegally, right, and then all of a sudden sign up for all of the funds and all of the goodies that America was giving away, and then they'd go back to Cuba.
Ooh.
And then their family in Miami would send them that money back to Cuba. They'd send them those checks. They'd send them you know what I mean? And so that was the ruse. That was the fraud that was being committed in pretty much all of South Florida.
Interesting.
And so it actually took the congressional delegation from Miami to put a stop to that. Oh. And that's why they put a stop to the wet foot, dry foot law.
Yeah. Because
that ended the money train on the entitlements.
And that was Trump's, correct? Because Obama was still pro.
I don't know. I don't remember if it was under the Obama administration or not.
Yeah, to me,
it's around there. It was either like Obama or first term Trump.
Yeah. I think it was first term Trump.
But it passed. I mean, it went right through. I mean, and again, like, didn't make a lot of news, didn't make a lot of noise, but it put a quick stop to that.
It ended in January 12th, 2017.
Yeah, there we go. Right.
Yep.
So,
it says Barack Obama ended the policy, which had given Cuban since 1995. So I guess it went into law in 2017.
Got it, right? Because they would have had to pass it, and then it kicks in, right? So,
that That's a W for Obama right there.
Yeah, it is. Look,
He snuck it in at the end. He was like, hey, by the way, here's.
Right. Well, and I think the reason he didn't make a lot of noise about it was because it was the Republican delegation from Miami that put that bill through. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so it was one of those things that, you know, you want to take credit, but you don't want to take credit. You know? Oh, man. But getting back to, you know, this situation with Trump and Venezuela, does it bother me that it leaks out to the media that, you know, Trump is planning, you know, these operations with the CIA and that sort of thing, which he admitted to. It's not like he's denying it. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh yeah. He goes, and by the way, we already control the waters. He goes, we're going to take control of the land next, mm-hmm. which is crazy, you know. And what I had said previously in a conversation with somebody a couple of weeks ago was that, oh no, it's actually it was to Anibal on the last show. I go, he's doing this down in Venezuela, and nobody's paying attention because they're only paying attention to what's happening here in the country. Yeah, they're only paying attention to the ICE raids, and they're only paying attention to, you know, to the Israel-Gaza problem, and you know, so while they were over here distracted on this stuff, he's over here doing all this stuff down in Venezuela, blowing up the fishing boats. Yeah, you know, with the square grouper.
And here's the thing, like I have a lot of friends. My mechanic, this guy is like a mechanic from the guys. He's what do you call these guys that are like Rain Man? They're
autistic.
They're like super, like he's just like autistic, but for mechanics,
right?
Work. And that's what he did in Venezuela. And him and his whole family are constantly pissed that Trump is not moving fast enough,
right?
They're like, oh, he said, and then it's been 2 weeks and nothing's happened.
Well, and that's the interesting thing about this is that Democrats know that they can't really come out too hard against this because most of Latin America wants it to happen. Yeah, like Colombians want it to happen, Ecuadorians want it to happen. Like nothing would empower that continent more than a strong Venezuela. And some people are saying, oh, well, we can't go in there like we've done before and just throw out the government and leave them without, you know, an established government, you know, because, you know, it's just going to collapse. No.
They have really strong opposition.
It hasn't been that long. Yeah. Right. They have opposition.
Yeah. They just get killed, you know?
Right. Killed or jailed.
Yeah.
You know, but they have strong opposition. It hasn't been that long since they had a functioning democracy. And so I honestly think that if you remove the current leadership, they will easily just step right back in, and they'll have elections, and they'll reestablish Venezuela into the democracy that it was
in 2000,
or the republic that it was, because it was also a republic.
In 2015, I had a friend of mine, actually 14. I had a friend of mine we were doing business in Venezuela, and he was making about 150,000 American a month.
Wow.
He had built that business. That was his everything. Yeah. And I had a few clinics that I was doing work with there, and everything was going great. And son, one day he went down to zero. He texts me. He goes, "Oh, did you see what happened?" And I mean, everything. That's when they did the whole the American dollar suddenly became illegal.
Right.
He lost everything.
Sure.
And it's so fresh. And this guy, he did everything to do business out of other countries. And he movers and shakers always find a way. Yeah. But these people are still there. And they know what it is to have a really successful company in a country, and they want to get into government. Now they want to get into control to prevent this from ever happening again.
Well, we've seen what happens, and they're a perfect example. We've seen what happens when you disarm the nation. We've seen what happens when you take away the citizens' ability to defend themselves. Because again, it's not about self-defense against my neighbor. Yeah. It's about self-defense against my country, against a tyrannical government. Yep. And it happens every single time. As soon as you give up your weapons, you give up your freedom. Because that government now has the ability to do whatever they want. And they will do it every single time. We're going to see the same thing happen in Canada.
Yeah, honestly, it is a silent martial law when they do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, and it's about to happen in Canada. Which, funny enough, Canada owns more weapons than we do, per person. Wow. Canadians own more weapons than we do. Yeah, and they're about to lose them all.
Really?
And I guarantee you that's going to be the beginning of the end of Canada.
It's Katy Perry's fault. If you guys understand why.
Yeah. Just search and see what she's been up to lately.
Yeah, right?
You know, and so people are speculating, and which I'm also wondering, because, of course, I mean, we want to believe that there is some genuine good behind, you know, why governments do what they do. Mm-hmm. But we also know that most of the time there's an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
And so the big question mark that I have, and I think most people have that are looking at this and they're saying, why? Right? Mm-hmm. And mind you, again, the right answer is because they are a tyrannical dictatorship that is oppressing its people, and they created the downfall of a democracy, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why this guy needs to go. But what is the ulterior motive? What else is motivating this?
Well, I can tell you, I have friends that are involved in the nuclear industry, mm-hmm. and the biggest chunk of their work right now is United Arab Emirates, specifically Dubai, Saudi Arabia. These governments are looking for small modular reactors, and you're going, wait, don't you have tons of? And they're like, no, that's not for us. That's to sell.
Right.
They want clean energy.
Yeah.
They want nuclear reactors. They want 4 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
And they're paying for it up front.
Right.
Like, how much is it? Oh, $6 billion for this many reactors to run our country on that? Okay.
Yeah.
And who pays for it? We do. So when you leverage countries like Venezuela, and now you have petroleum coming from different areas, mm-hmm. I think that's one of the really big factors, because between Venezuela and Guyana, which are right next to each other,
yeah.
that's supposedly the largest reserve, the largest batch of petroleum in the world. It's mixed in with sand underground, so It's a little more difficult to get.
Yeah,
but
and that's why it's more expensive.
Yeah.
But imagine what it would do not only to the American oil industry, but also to the global oil industry if Venezuela were to come back online. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I remember this same mechanic was saying in Venezuela, one of the benefits that they have is that they pay 12 cents a gallon.
Sure.
Because they just have such abundance of
right.
of
it's their oil. They should. Yeah. Just like in Alaska. Mm-hmm. Have you heard what's happening up there?
No.
The oil industry generates so much money for the state of Alaska that now every Alaskan resident is actually getting a check every month.
Oh, wow.
Like a lot of money.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right, exactly. And so, yes, I think the oil's part of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, imagine, like, I think we'd go from what right now we're at about, give or take, $3 a gallon.
Yeah.
I think easily we'd see gas go back down to below $2 a gallon.
Yeah, $2 definitely.
Now, don't get me wrong; it's probably gonna decimate the price, like Houston. You know, it's gonna decimate the oil industry in the United States. But again, it'll regulate itself. You know what I mean? It'll just reach a new plateau. Mm-hmm. And again, I think it levels things out. But imagine the economic impact that. Like even getting gas back down below $2 per or $3 per, below $2 per gallon.
I mean, that would last a good 10 years of really good gas prices.
Yeah,
it would reset.
While the country, I do believe, is in transition in adopting electric and hybrid vehicles, mm-hmm. because I think the solution should have always been all of the above. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In some places, those ugly ass windmills make sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you know what? I visited upstate New York a couple years ago, and they were hideous. Mm-hmm. It was destroying the beauty of like these rolling hills and mountains in upstate New York. Mm-hmm. I mean, that part of the country is beautiful. And then you've got these ugly things just like spinning over there.
And then they're making very low frequency sounds that are affecting wildlife.
Right.
They're affecting the whales.
Killing wildlife.
Yeah, they're confused. They're beaching themselves.
Well, the blades tend to hit birds. Birds are flying into it. And then the footprint. I mean, they that the amount of land that you have to clear to build those, mm-hmm. or to build enough of those to be effective, mm-hmm. and still the return on investment's just not there. Mm-hmm. And they want to use the excuse, it'll get there.
Yeah.
But it's not.
So one of the things, it's funny, I was listening to, I'm a big nerd when it comes to like physics and things like that. So the second law of thermodynamics says that as you pass from one energy producing source and convert it to another, every time you convert it to another, you lose.
Yeah, diminishing returns.
You do diminishing returns.
Yeah.
So if you, like right now, we're burning petroleum to create electricity to then use it in our houses, but that's the same petroleum that's going up and down in prices, and at the same time we're using electric vehicles. So it doesn't make sense. And this was a show speaking about solar energy.
Yeah,
we should be able to run this whole planet on a fraction of the amount of sun we get. Mm-hmm. The problem is the technology to collect it is not there yet.
Now that's where I do think soon enough we'll be at a place where the panels are going to, absorb enough power to justify the cost. So
it's roofs, it's windows on buildings.
Yeah,
it is street signs.
It
is you can connect. I mean, you go up there and you touch a stop sign on the corner, that thing is blazing hot.
Right.
Why is not collecting?
But and then you think about where we are technologically in terms of the advancement of lighting. Mm-hmm. And even LEDs being so power efficient, and that's kind of meeting it halfway.
It is.
Because now, like you said, I can put a solar panel on the top of a street light and it'll power that whole street. It'll power that whole intersection because these lights don't take that much power to run anyways.
Yeah. So there's a company that I do a lot of work with called Minimize USA, and they're partners with the Department of Energy, and they're partners with Johnson Controls, and what their main prerogative is, we're going to look at, okay, you're spending this much on energy. We're going to look at where the inefficiencies are, and we're going to bring all that down. And one of them is human behavior. Mm-hmm. It's how many people are in this room at this time of day? Okay, from 4 to 6, you've got this many people running through a room. From 6 to 4 the next day, no one walks in there.
Right.
Why is the AC on?
Yeah.
There's no one
Well, it's kind of like a more, I think relatable where, and that's a good example too. But look at what Publix has done. In their frozen section, they've converted all of their freezers to motion sensor lighting.
Yes.
Right? So why? Well, because the lights heat up the products. Mm-hmm. And so basically you're lighting it, but at the same time now your freezers are having to work harder because again, they're fighting each other, right? But again, if those lights are off while there's nobody going down that aisle, now all of a sudden you're more power efficient. Now you're more energy efficient. It was saving them money.
Exactly.
And again, they wouldn't do it if it didn't save them money.
Exactly. And they're using AI for this. So they're going in there and examining organizations and their schedules and what they do and who's there and looking at people's work schedules, and they're putting this into AI technology, and the AI is going, oh yeah, this is all wrong.
Yeah.
This should be on at this time. This should be on. This should be a 78. This should be a 73. And okay, you bring that down. How much is it going to cost to fix this? You got to train the staff to follow these guidelines, and then okay, what are we using to bring energy in?
That's why I've always loved motion sensor lighting. Mm-hmm. And obviously in a house it doesn't make sense in every room, but just about.
Yeah. It really does.
I mean, in just about every room, certainly bathrooms.
For sure.
Like if there's nothing moving in the bathroom, like why is the light on, right? And as a dad, now you learn why your parents were pissed off all the time, because you forget to turn the light off or the extraction fan.
Oh, my kids hear it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And so again, if you had the motion sensor in there, now all of a sudden, again, you're not wasting that energy.
But you got to pay for the motion sensor.
Yeah.
So eventually it pays for itself.
Right, it does.
And that's really how, people... investors look at things that way, and that's why investors make so much money. But the average American looks at it as now, and that's why it's so difficult to get people. I know people that have they make a tenth of what I make, and they pay twice as much energy as I do because their house is not ready for it.
Well, and we kind of went off on a tangent, but it's the same reason why I want to buy an EV for my next car. Mm-hmm. I don't drive yes, on a regular basis around town, I drive a lot, but I don't leave town a lot in my car. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the farthest I'll go is maybe Orlando, or if I'm pushing it, maybe Miami, but that's once every few months, maybe, if that, maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, that 200 to 300 mile range that car gets is more than enough.
It's perfect. Yeah.
You know, and so why deal with all of the maintenance of a combustion engine, right? And all of the, you know, and all of the, you know, needs and repairs and all the just crap that comes with, you know, a normal combustion engine vehicle.
Yeah.
Where even if I want that could be my weekend car.
Exactly.
But my daily makes much more sense to be an EV.
See, I'm Puerto Rican, so I have to have a Honda Civic from 1993. That's like, yeah, I got to have it at home. So, you know, like EV here, and then on the weekends, fart thrower.
Oh, man, that's great. All right. Marcos Rivera joining me today for the first time on, on the new version of the Yard Sign, because you'd come on before we took the hiatus. Yeah. So, Aníbal David out on medical leave today. We'll be sure to ask for his doctor's note when he comes back.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to watch that whole situation with Trump and Venezuela. I mean, he's already we already know. It's already been reported. There's thousands, I think, north of 10,000 troops already based in the Caribbean, mostly in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So they're ready to go.
I
don't know what they have planned, but that's a lot of people.
It's so funny that I saw a report. They were on Spanish news, and they were doing this whole thing about Puerto Rico and Venezuela, and 100% of the Puerto Rican law enforcement that was involved speaking in English.
Yeah.
And it's like all of them speak English. Everything and anything they do with CIA, FBI, DEA, customs, it's all in English.
Right.
It's all in English. People don't realize that. Like Puerto Rico's called Rich Port for a reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think maybe since Ricky Martin or J-Lo has anybody paid so much attention to Puerto Rico, you know, with all the Bad Bunny news going on, which, you recommended that we discuss, and we ended up talking about it in both of our previous episodes, but I mean, it is interesting because, again, I think people forget, you know, kind of like, you know, I took a cruise, you know, last summer, you know, we went, the summer before last. And, you know, I asked my girlfriend, I go, do I need my passport? Do I need to bring no, you don't need to bring it. I'm like, how do I not need my passport? I was like, because we're not technically going anywhere. We're not technically going to a foreign country. I go, but we're making all these stops. I go, yeah, they're all American territories. So we're like in St. Martin, you know, we're in all these places, and it's all American territory, and you just forget.
And St. Croix.
St. Croix,
thing,
exactly.
St. Croix is the only place in the world you're going to hear people speak a Puerto Rican accent in Spanish and a Jamaican accent in English. It's such a crazy. It's like Sean Paul meets, a Bad Bunny. It's crazy.
But that's why all the great music comes out of there. You know what I mean? That blending of cultures. It's why we in this country make great music. Yeah, because it's the blending of cultures.
It really is.
You know, and that's that's another topic for another time. But let's move on to our second topic of the day, as we're going to definitely be keeping tabs on that story and it as it develops, because man, that would be a generational thing for for Maduro to be removed from office. That would be quite a thing.
And honestly, my opinion, I think he's going to fold.
It would be the Berlin Wall of this generation. Yep. You know, it would be equivalent to that.
And Cuba would be a very close.
And I guess, I mean, the short answer is maybe because it's nothing but to gain, but it's like, why haven't we, it's like, just rip the Band-Aid, man. Just go in there and get rid of those people.
Yeah. The problem is that it's espionage. That's really what we have to fear from Cuba is espionage. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's the story that Marcos contributed, because Aníbal and I probably weren't going to touch it, but no. I think it's important to discuss, so young Republicans had a leak among, a chat group that they had on Telegram. So much for it being encrypted, because when you can take screenshots, who cares?
I know.
And we're going to get into how and why this happens. But leaders I think, about, I don't know, a dozen or so. I mean, they're saying there was a lot of people in this group, but that doesn't mean that everybody was involved in these conversations, that sort of thing. But anyhow, apparently a handful of young Republicans were discovered to be making racist remarks, very offensive remarks of all kinds. And what I will kind of right out of the gate applaud the National Young Republican Organization for is that they came out and they said, hey, we don't approve of this. All of them should resign. None of them, I believe, held national office. Mm-hmm. They held state offices, state roles. Which, again, this is an organization of thousands of people from all over the country. And it's an organization that Anibal and I were proud members of for many years. And, yeah, there's people that, take jokes and take things too far. And, yeah, there's some people that think, that believe things that, aren't popular and maybe they shouldn't think this day and age. But, again, you could say that for any political organization that's out there, because you're always going to have your extremes and then you're going to have, your kind of, sensible, members. And in this case, again, I think you got to remember, these are all folks that are under the age, I would say predominantly between the ages of 20 and 30.
Yeah.
Even though the group accepts people from the ages of 18 to 40. But predominantly, it's people between the ages of 20 and 30. And when you're that young, you think you're invincible. You think nothing's going to get you. You think, I can guarantee you that out of these people that were caught saying these things, they have either already run for office or they were aspiring to run for office, or thought that, at some point in their career, like they would have an elected office, or their political consultants or their, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so when you get into that universe, you start to think that, your stature in this world is a little higher than it should be. You know what I mean? They forget that, no, you're still a 20-something-year-old that doesn't know anything and has a lot to learn and a lot of mistakes to be made.
Yeah.
And look, I'll admit it. You could probably go onto my Twitter account that I've had since 2007. Mm-hmm. So I've had it almost 20 years, right? Which is crazy to think that.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that social media has been around that long, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like it's been that long.
Yeah.
It seems like it's been around a lot longer. I mean, it's only 20 years.
Yeah, it feels like since 90s, and it wasn't.
No. I mean, okay, MySpace, right? MySpace came out late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Right? But, again, I've had my Twitter account literally since Twitter started, 2007. In fact, April of 2007. I know exactly when I started my Twitter account. And, yeah, like, if I go back, I absolutely said some stupid things and things that I shouldn't say. And actually, like, it backfired on me at one point. I was working on a campaign in Jacksonville. And we got into like a little spicy banter between, myself and the campaign that we were running against. And all of a sudden they pulled up this tweet and they said, oh, so you think this is funny, huh? And it was something that I had written years ago before I was ever involved. I don't think I was even involved in politics at the time. It was just some crass joke that I'd made. Ugh. And so, again, it's because you don't know any better. And especially in 2007, or in the early days of social, we didn't realize that this stuff was never going anywhere.
Yeah.
we didn't think it was going to stick around.
It's permanent.
For our entire careers or lives.
Yeah.
And you're right. To make it go away takes a lot of work. And you know what? I owned up to it. I didn't deny it and that sort of thing. It was like, yeah, I said something stupid. I don't believe that. I mean, I'm more mature now, that sort of thing. And then I deleted it, and moved on and stayed off my Twitter account for a while, locked it down and just, stayed quiet for a while. But, and I'm not trying to diminish the gravity of what they said. Because I haven't even read all the things that they said, but what little I've read was pretty bad.
Yeah, I have multiple. I wouldn't say one or two or three. I have multiple chats on multiple applications with a very, very diverse group of people, and the things we say.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But we say
I have conversations with friends from high school.
Yeah, but we say it against each other.
Right.
And there's like black dudes, there's an Asian dude,
Right.
there's an Indian dude, and we make curry jokes, they make rice and beans jokes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm like, you got to be a little more.
But taken out of context.
It's terrible. Now, but the thing is, when you have a group of probably 100% white Republicans from Kansas,
Yeah.
it's just bad taste.
Right.
It's
Oh, no.
really bad taste.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it doesn't nullify the gravity of what they were saying. But again, it's the kind of thing that you do say when you're young and stupid and think that you're invincible.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so lately there's, you know, I love going back and watching like all the TV shows that I missed when they were popular. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like I'm watching The Sopranos. I watched The Wire. I'm watching Newsroom now. Like these are all shows that were huge when they came out, but I didn't have like HBO. So, you know, so now I can watch them. And it's funny because now, right, like your perspective's different because now it's not in the moment, right? Now that's in the past.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see how things have changed. But anyways, the show about the newsroom, you know, is obviously mostly about journalism and politics and that sort of thing. And, you know, one of the lines that they repeat throughout the show is that, you know, you never put anything in writing that you don't want to see on the front page of the New York Times.
Yeah.
And when it comes to social media, like that should be the rule for everything.
100% true. 100% true. Now that you talk about throwback shows, I love watching Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
And I love watching Red Fox.
Right.
Red Fox's shows.
Yeah.
They are so direct, raunchy, like just straight to the jugular racist jokes.
Right.
But they do it mockingly.
Yeah.
So in real life, these things happen.
When people could take a joke.
They could. I mean, and the thing is, Red Fox was. I mean, Richard Pryor was like that. Richard Pryor has if you ever look it up, he has a job interview with Chevy Chase on SNL.
Yeah.
Look it up on YouTube. Chevy Chase, Richard Pryor job interview, and they go at it, and it's improv, and he calls them honky, he calls them out. I mean, they go.
I think I've seen it. Yeah.
It is so cool because. Yeah. They were best of friends on the show,
right? And
it's when you have open conversation about the things like racism and prejudice, and you keep that avenue open, and you speak about you make fun of the whole essence of these things being so stupid amongst friends. I think personally amongst friends, it keeps us wanting to hang out with each other. It keeps us wanting to, and it's, we've got white, we've got black, we've got Asian, we've got Indian, Hispanic, Dominican, a bunch of different Hispanics.
Yeah.
And we have different perspectives on almost everything. But, the one thing that none of us are going to judge somebody because of just their race, skin color, ethnicity, nationality. But like I said, what's in bad taste is, this is a good lesson, not only to the ones that got caught, a good lesson to all the ones that saw them get caught.
Right.
Going, don't put things that could end up on the front page.
Right. So, because again, without the context, I mean, it leaves it up for interpretation. And the way I was kind of leading into this story, I think is the one thing that we don't really think about. Few people realize this is the breeding ground for, I wouldn't say a lot, but I'd say for a good amount of the political leadership and elected leadership that comes down the road, in the next 10 to 20 years.
It's like the minor leagues.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is.
Because you build those relationships, you work on those campaigns, maybe you become that consultant that gets people elected. Maybe you become that chief of staff. Maybe you become that elected official. Perfect example. When Trump got elected, my friend Bradley used to be the president of the Miami Young Republicans. And this was way before Miami turned red, and he was going through his pictures, and I guess he must have remembered, and he started going through the pictures of some of the meetings that they had years ago. And who is, surely enough, is in the background, in the audience, sometimes, usually even alone, but Kash Patel.
Oh.
Who's now the head of the FBI.
And that's not the norm.
Right.
That's not the norm to have probably a really young, skinny, scrawny Indian kid in a Republican rally.
Exactly.
Or event. That's not the norm.
And the organization. Yeah, exactly. Now, don't get me wrong. In the Indian community, you and I both know most of them are conservative, but they don't get involved in politics really for the most part. You know, like where we're starting to see, and I think this is a generational thing, you know, seeing like a Vivek Ramaswamy, you know, and we are going to, and, you know, of course, like Nikki Haley and that sort of thing. We are going to see more of that, I think, as, you know, the generations, you know, kind of, you know, come along.
And for sure, like, now that you mentioned that, well, one of we go back to what we were speaking about before about Hispanics.
Yeah.
When you look, and this is the part that people don't get. People think that Christians, Catholics, Republicans are conservative. Have you ever had interactions with Muslims? That is extreme conservatism.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you ever interacted with Hispanics in general, not even evangelical Hispanics, and all of them are like, woman belongs in kitchen, man belongs in field, you know, cutting. Like it is so like 1950s, 1940s. And you go to, you know, you go to the Hindu religion, Indian.
Yeah.
It's extremely conservative. Their customs are conservative. They're, you know, the wife has a certain role.
Right.
The grandmother plays a role in the house. The husband and the uncles and the grandfathers. When you bring in, if you were to bring in these conservative communities and they decide to start running for office based on how they live their lifestyles, I'd say 75% of the country would be conservative.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, speaking of, you know, the Muslim vote, I mean, look at what's happening in Michigan. I mean, it's kind of scary because it shows kind of, again, kind of what the pendulum swinging too far in the other direction can happen. I mean, they literally have, you know, the Muslim chants going out, you know, what is it, 3 times a day?
Yeah.
You know, over loudspeakers. And now the residents in that area that are not of Muslim faith can't do anything about it. Nope. Because they're completely immersed in the political leadership of that area.
Yeah.
They run the city council. They run the county. They run.
And it's funny because the people who open the avenues for these really conservative, you know, Sharia law type behaviors are the liberal.
Yeah.
They're the ones that open the door to a conservatism that's far worse than Republican conservatism.
Well, there's an interesting theory that I've seen recently about that, which is because they tend to align themselves with the liberal side of politics, or, you know, the Democrat side of politics, because they are distracted by all the identity politics that they play, right? All the LGBTQ stuff and all that kind of stuff. Like, they don't care. The Muslim community doesn't care about that stuff because they see the bigger picture, which is to, again, get elected to these offices, to get the power that they seek to hold. And so they're like, yeah, you guys go and play with all these identity politics and all those other issues that don't mean anything. Meanwhile, we'll focus on, you know, putting our perspective on things here locally.
Yeah, it's again, you know, I was just speaking to a client the other day, and he's Indian. He's Indian, and he's very conservative, and he's making tons of money, and he's a great guy, very down to earth, very, you know, family man. And we mentioned politics, and he said, with a very, very strong Indian accent, he said, "I'd rather make tons of money."
Yeah.
He has he does not want to be involved in politics. He's like, no.
Well, but again, that goes back to conservatism, which is like, just get government out of my way.
Yeah.
Just stay out of my way. Let me build my business. Let me live my life. Let me raise my family. Let me do me. Okay, and you just stay out of my way.
And that's how he votes.
You need taxes? Hey, take your taxes, but leave me alone.
Yeah.
And that's how they exercise their vote. But again, also the parties just, they don't court them, right? Because they it's a lot of work. But it's kind of like the work that the Republican Party was doing even before Trump. Reince Priebus, when he was the chairman of the Republican Party prior to 2016. Prior to 2016. he had already for years been investing heavily in Hispanic outreach. And so by the time Trump came around, well, who benefited from that?
Yeah.
Trump did.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of money that had been invested. They had Hispanic outreach coordinators throughout the entire country that had been working for years to build this relationship in the community. I was that person for Tampa Bay. And I remember going to the Puerto Rican festivals and going to, the Hispanic chambers and going to, like joining some of these boards, like Tampa Hispanic Heritage and, being a part of the community. Because those were the relationships that they wanted us to build and create those opportunities for our candidates to come and be able to get in front of them.
And that's honestly, that's the direction I want to go in.
Yeah.
Because I realized, so I founded a chamber. I've been a member of multiple chambers. I've helped tons of organizations. I've done so much stuff behind the scenes. I've done more as an outsider in a lot of these organizations than I could have done as an insider.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, everyone celebrating Hispanic heritage is not throwing on a Mexican hat, shaking maracas and eating tacos. Like it's so convoluted and wrong. I mean, like I think I mentioned to you, is like, you're from Colombia?
Yeah. Well, my family is.
Your family is. So if you go to Cali, these people are salseros. They all did salsa music.
Yep.
They're very similar to Puerto Ricans because they love Puerto Rican music.
Oh, yeah.
And then the customs started kind of moving in that direction as well. You go to Bogota, it's completely different.
Right.
Cartagena, completely different. Bucaramanga, completely different.
Yeah.
Cúcuta, different. Medellin, different. And then,
and that's just one country.
That's just one country.
Right.
And it's like, dude, how do you? And then you go to Venezuela, same thing. Maracaibo's very different from. And then you go to Panama, and Panama. You have Panama City, and then you have Chiriquí, and then Mexico. Mexico City has 31 million people.
Well, what both parties fail to understand is that diversity within, not only within the Hispanic community, but even within the countries themselves. And most of them, even until recently, didn't even understand the political dynamics of those countries.
Yeah.
And you don't realize, it's like, if you're going to do politics in these communities, you need to understand the dynamics from which they come from.
Yep.
You need to know not only like the dynamics, but you need to know who the parties are, what those parties stand for, so that if they tell you, oh, well, in Puerto Rico, I voted this way, is that person aligned with you or not? You know what I mean? And not to discourage you from continuing to advocate to that person, but you're better armed to then know how to approach them based on the issues that they care about.
It has to be a very analog, very micro approach. You cannot take a macro approach when it comes to this thing.
Yeah.
And specifically, if I say, hey, 37% of the U.S. population can be yours.
Yeah.
That's
well,
huge.
and I'll give you a perfect example of how even us as Hispanics can get roped into doing it the wrong way. I had been hired by a digital political agency to work on a campaign for a Mexican gentleman who had actually been the lieutenant governor of California under Arnold Schwarzenegger and wanted to run for governor. So his campaign's up and running for governor. And they said, well, hey, Jonathan, you're Hispanic. Can you take a look at some of these content pieces, and translate them for us so we can put them out, bilingually? I said, yeah, no problem. So I go and I translate them and this and that. We send them off to the campaign. The campaign comes back and they're like, this is all wrong. And they're like, what do you mean it's all wrong? They're like, yeah, these translations are all wrong. And then they came back to me and they're like, Jonathan, they're like, we thought you knew Spanish. Like, why are they telling us that these translations are all wrong? I go, well, I know why they're wrong. I go, because I'm not Mexican.
Yeah.
And in California, you're mostly advocating to Mexicans.
Yes.
And the vocabulary is different.
Even then,
we all speak
Mexican and Chicano, it's even different.
But we all speak Spanish, but we all have our own vocabulary.
Yeah.
And that's what these political entities don't understand. That, again, like if you're talking, even in Miami, If you're talking to people in Little Havana, you have to talk to them in Cuban Spanish. If you're talking to people in Doral, okay, then you need to talk to them in Venezuelan Spanish. If you're talking to the Hispanic community in Weston, then you probably need to be talking to them in Colombian Spanish.
Yeah.
And that's the part that people, if you're out by the shore, if you're out on the coastline, you better be speaking to them in Portuguese, because that's where all the Brazilians live.
Yep.
And they don't understand those dynamics.
And it costs
They
money.
want to put you in a box and say, oh, you all should vote the same way because you all speak the same language and you're all from the same part of the earth. And it's so far from that.
And you have to, and that's, so my value when I go to do these kind of campaigns, and whether it be private or public sector, you don't have to guess. I know. Like I've been a musician since I was, first of all, I grew up half Puerto Rico, half New York. New York, I grew up with all the Hispanics.
Yeah.
I went to all the parties. I was like, why is this? And I took interest in why they were so different. When I became a musician through, when I was 13, 14, 15, I became a musician. I was already a professional musician at 17. You have to learn all the types of music when you're in New York.
Oh, I got some stories for you. We got to talk about that off the air.
So I learned tons of different types of music.
Yeah.
And then with the music, you learn the culture, you learn the foods,
right?
Different parties. And I was immersed for years. Up to this point, I have been immersed. When you look at festivals like Viva Tampa Bay, Salsa on the Docks, Salsa in the District, you look at
Bomba Plena, which is coming up.
Yeah, exactly. Bomba Plena.
Right.
You look at the Conga Caliente, which used to happen in Al Lopez.
Yeah.
When you look at Marcos, how many people, me and the people that are involved that I have, we touch 300,000 Hispanics every year. Who else does that?
Right.
Nobody. And in our politics in those countries, what convinces people to vote for you? Festivals.
Right.
That's and now.
Yeah. We were talking about that before we started the show.
City of Tampa right now.
Doesn't even have to be a big festival.
Yeah,
a little street party, a little block party.
If City of Tampa right now said, "Hey, we're going to do an event for Hispanic outreach," and they do everything they can, they're going to get 17 people in their lobby.
Right.
What does that mean? It means they're not connecting to the right community. They're not doing it. So it takes having people that understand the culture, just like you did. You're like, I know why it's wrong.
Yeah. It's like, I was just doing what I was told. You told me to translate it, I translated it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that my translation was wrong. It just meant that it was to the wrong audience.
Yeah. The dialect is just a little different.
Of course.
That's all it is.
And so then they were like, well, then why didn't you? I was like, because I don't know Mexican Spanish. I was like, what do you want me to? I mean, that's like asking me. You might as well be asking me if I know Mandarin.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is quite literally that different. It's an entirely different vocabulary.
You can get in trouble saying the wrong things.
Of course. But anyhow, to wrap up the topic, the biggest fallout from this is like I said at the beginning. This is absolutely going to affect some political careers.
It is.
Now, something like this, maybe more so in the short term. You know what I mean? And who knows? Because, again, the internet never forgets. I wouldn't be surprised if this story pops up again in 15 years as somebody's running for governor, or as somebody's running for president, or somebody's running for a state senate, or the U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
Right? Because the internet never forgets.
But, I mean, if they use it as a positive and go, listen, guys, shut the hell up.
Yeah.
It's a positive note. Like, you need to know, you'll know your role. You got to be very careful. I mean, that's the thing.
You beg for forgiveness. You know what I mean?
You really do.
And just know that at some point it's probably going to come back up, because there are people, especially in politics, and most people don't know politics this way, right? But Anibal and I have seen it. We've seen it from the outside, and we've seen it from the inside, because we've been recipients of this kind of tactics as well. There are people that are keeping tabs on you and everything you do. And they are keeping a record. They are quite literally, oh, that's controversial. I'm going to take a little screenshot of that, and I have a little folder over here, and I'm going to hold on to that for a rainy day.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that there was somebody in that group that they pissed off, that doesn't like them, or that was trying to defeat them politically somehow, be it for a job, be it for an elected position, even for these positions within the young Republican organization that hold A, no power, and B, most of them held no financial value because they don't even get paid unless you're working at the national level. But I've seen more hatred from internal politics than from actual politics out on the street running for elected office.
Yep. Guaranteed.
Because I've seen good people taken out by petty politics. And not to say that this is petty, but again, whoever leaked this had an agenda.
He has an agenda. Yeah,
they had somebody that they were trying to take out.
Yeah.
And they just served it right up on a platter.
Yep. And I mean, I've been in campaigns where I sit down and they're like, what do you know about their team?
Yeah.
And you just go down the list of.
Well, and I'll give you a perfect example of my own. When I first got involved in the Young Republicans, I wasn't a Republican. I wasn't raised a Republican. I was smartly enough. Okay. Maybe one of the few smart things I did as a teenager was that when I was eligible to register, I registered independent. So from the time that I was eligible to vote until about 2007, 2008, I was registered as an independent because I knew that I knew what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then what happened was once I got involved in the Young Republicans, at first I held an appointed position. I was like the marketing guy for the club. And then I got elected, right? And at this point, I was already a Republican. Once I started to try to continue to move up and I wanted to hold a position statewide, all of a sudden they tried to get it out there as a negative. Oh, hey, you were an independent up until 2008. What's that all about? Are you a Democrat in disguise? Are you working for the other side? You're Hispanic. And they straight up told me that because I was Hispanic, they thought I was a Democrat, like infiltrating the organization. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's how nasty it gets.
Yeah.
And again, this is far bigger than just them saying a bunch of nasty things. And that was kind of the point that I was trying to make. This is far bigger than them saying things that they shouldn't have said. This is literally a political targeting. And again, it doesn't matter what the outcome is. It doesn't matter what that person was trying to accomplish because they probably accomplished it.
Yeah.
But this wasn't just about the people saying, mean things. This was much bigger than that.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do that. I mean, they'll always look for the deepest, darkest, like what I mean, like with me.
No, they'll use anything.
They'll use anything. See, I work, example, City of Tampa now, Bob Buckhorn.
Yeah.
He's going to be running again.
Yeah.
I lean conservative Republican. But when you go, what are the options in Tampa?
Right. Or any major city in America, pretty much.
Yeah, it's like Bob is the closest thing to aligning to basically being very fair.
Yeah.
And you have to make those. And then there's people that will hate you.
Yeah.
Because he's a leftist or a commie, or people come up with these.
Yeah.
And you can never be, especially being Hispanic again, you can never be so staunchly for or against anything. You always have to. I mean, if you take Bill Clinton from the 90s and you run him now, he's a Republican.
Oh, absolutely. Right now, if you go onto the Republican social media pages, they do it all the time. They bust out all the 90s videos, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, all those guys, some of them which are still around.
They say worse things than Republicans say now.
That's right. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, if you were to take her at her word, Hillary Clinton was going to be far worse on immigration than Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what was it? The super predators?
Yeah, the super predators.
It's like, dudes. Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah. She was talking about me. I was a little kid in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I was a super predator. I was like, wait, what's going on?
Oh my gosh,
crazy.
But in regards to Bob Buckhorn, we'll talk a little bit more about him in future episodes because we do need to kind of bring some attention to that race. And Bob, we have a good relationship with Bob. And not to say that again, we're not in agreement with everything he's ever done. You know what I mean? But he's straightforward. You know, like he's genuinely a good guy. And even though I don't agree with some or many things that he's done, he's also willing to defend what he did during his terms. Like he was always willing to come to a Young Republicans meeting and take questions, not easy questions either, like very direct, very blunt, difficult questions, you know, from an audience that he knew wasn't on his side.
Yeah.
And he never turned us down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know Republicans who wouldn't subject themselves to that.
Yeah, and
You know,
in terms of economic development, he was really good.
And again, we've seen it time and time again where there's Republicans that we know that have switched parties so that they could get elected.
Yeah.
You know, at the city level, you know, because for whatever reason, you know, and who knows, maybe the dynamics have changed enough, but it's county-wide, we still have a lead. But again, in the city, you know, it's a little bit of a different story. But for some reason, Republicans just aren't able to get traction at a city level. And so we have literally seen it where somebody has run as a Republican, lost, come back, run as a Democrat, and then won.
Yeah. Same person.
Yeah. Now, mind you, a lot of those people have changed everything that they stood for along the way because, you know, it's a virus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like once it gets in you, it just starts changing you from the inside out.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a whole nother conversation. All right, we're going to wrap up today's show with a little bit of a lighthearted topic as we are very fired up about our football team once again. You know, just 2 years ago, we had Tequila Tom. Tequila Tom Brady bring us the Super Bowl. I don't think anybody's ever called him Tequila Tom. I like that.
Yeah, no? Yeah, I like that.
Tequila Tom. Sounds like your buddy, like from next door.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's Tequila Tom.
He like it.
Yeah,
he likes tequila.
Just hits the tequila every
Hispanic
weekend.
outreach right there.
Yeah, exactly. But do you remember like those pictures in the video of him like getting off the boat? Like oh yeah, he was messed up.
Yeah.
But I never thought that the Buccaneers would be able to bounce back so quickly. And again, I'm a very surface level football fan. You know what I mean? If I'm not in front of the TV on Sunday, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll watch Sports Center later, you know, like I don't care that much. And then of course there's all the political stuff about it. But I have been watching a little bit more lately because of one of my clients, and it's been incredibly exciting to watch somebody go out there and fight every single game, bust his ass every single game, trying to make this what is currently happening happen, which is despite some of the best players on our roster being injured, we now sit with the best record in football, and you have everybody out there, all the pundits, Stephen A. Smith, Colin Cowherd, these are all these guys are not only calling the Bucs the best team in the NFL right now, but they're also saying how Baker Mayfield should probably be this year's MVP.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly exciting.
Yeah. I've seen, so there's a motivational speaker, which is, this motivational speaker is the one that motivated Anthony Robbins to become Anthony Robbins.
Okay.
And his name was Jim Rohn. And he said, his rule was you make up for in effort what you lack in skill. And you will always win.
Yeah.
Just work more,
right.
work more.
Work
and
harder.
This guy is an example of, everyone douded him.
Yeah.
Everyone said, you don't have the skill, you don't have the talent, but the work ethic that and I don't think it's come to surface his process, what he's done to get to where he is right now.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee that it was a work.
Well, I think he had to kind of hit somewhat of a bottom for him to realize, oh man, here's another big opportunity. And that's where you truly define yourself. Mm-hmm. Are you going to take advantage of that opportunity and have it take you to that next level and give you that opportunity to show everybody, what you're capable of? Or are you simply just going to treat it like, every other opportunity you had before that and take it for granted and just fizzle out? And don't get me wrong. There were some cases, Cleveland, where he started kind of being one of them, where it wasn't the right environment for him. And that happens too. I think people don't realize that sometimes you are the casualty of your own environment. If you are not surrounded by people who are encouraging you and supporting you and pushing you to be better, you're going to fail. You know, just like, again, when you talk about a significant other, whether it's a girlfriend, a partner, a wife, if she's working against you or that person is working against you, your parents,
yeah,
that's going to bring you down. That's going to drag you down every single time. And if you don't change those people around you, you're never going to truly achieve your fullest potential.
Yeah.
And I think we are seeing Baker Mayfield at his fullest potential. And I don't know how many more years he has because he is on the upper end of the kind of age bracket for quarterbacks. But I think we could probably get another like 3 to 5 years out of him.
Yeah. I mean, Tequila Tom. How old is he?
Well, I mean, but this is the thing. And nobody is ungrateful for what Tom Brady did for Tampa because he could have picked any team he wanted. And I'm sure there was a lot of reasons for him coming to Tampa. But it's Tom Brady. Like, that was the expectation. The expectation was Tom Brady comes to your team, you are going to win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Right? That was the bar.
Yeah.
Like, he passed the bar. He surpassed our expectations because he also broke other records and, you know, and he proved that it was him and not so much Belichick and that sort of thing, as I got a Patriots fan sitting across from me over there. But that was the expectation. We didn't have those expectations with Baker. We didn't know what we were getting, right? Everybody had, like with every, you know, draft year, with every beginning of a new season, you have high hopes. You're like, oh man, like I was with my Dolphins, because I'm first and foremost a Dolphins fan before I'm a Bucs fan. I was like, man, I love Mike Daniels. Tua's a good guy. If he can stay healthy, maybe they can pull off a decent season. And again, like, they're garbage. And so to be at this point with Baker Mayfield is such an unexpected surprise. And it's so exciting to watch him bust his ass out there to get every little win.
Yeah.
Because one game is just a series of little wins.
Yeah. Really
and so for him to literally put his career on the line, because every time he passes that line of scrimmage to run the ball, I mean, he's putting his career on the line. Mm-hmm. And especially with this last game, where he got him, there was that one pivotal kind of first down that he got himself. I mean, it's like, oh man, this might be the real deal. Like, this could happen. Like this.
And it's funny because he's, traditionally the quarterbacks that do what he's doing are typically the black athletic quarterbacks that are like Superman athletes.
Yeah.
And this guy's doing that. He's playing the small ball. He's taking the ball himself. He's doing things that are unorthodox. Well,
and the biggest thing that, again, your pundits will give him credit for, your experts will give him credit for, is the fact that, again, Mike Evans is hurt. His other lucky receiver, Chris Godwin's hurt. And then there's one more. Mbuka just got hurt. There's another one. He has kind of a silly name. I'm trying to forget his. Anyhow, but you got some key players that lend credence to we've got a great team here. We have a lot of potential. Can we live up to that potential? Now with those guys out of the picture, now it's like, okay, now what you got?
Exactly.
And the fact that we're still winning, that's exciting.
See, but in sports, in team sports like this, there's certain positions that can really dictate where the team goes. In basketball, the point guards typically are the ones that are like, controlling that. And if you have a good point guard, they can, like Jordan, you can carry the whole game. In baseball, if you have a crappy team, but your guy pitched a no-hitter or punched a perfect shutout, the pitcher can really dictate what happens, in this series. Not necessarily in a series, but in a game. And then, the spirit of the team, you get a big win and the team did nothing and the pitcher carried it. You all won, the spirit of the team changes and the environment changes.
Yeah.
The spirit, and in football, it's the same way. That there's no other. All the stars are hurt. It's like, well, what do we do? Well, here's the ball. You take the lead.
Well, and what's exciting about him is that he truly does lead the team in the way that all leaders should be, which is that you lead by your own example. You don't lead by telling people, hey, go out there and be great.
Exactly.
He actually goes out there and he puts it on the line every single game. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that the other players are just blown away by, because, they're all mic'd up and everything. You see the little clips and the highlights and stuff like that. And every single game, they are just blown away by how much effort he puts into being great. Yep. And the fact that, again, like, nobody quite gave him the shot that he probably deserved. Mm-hmm. They mostly gave up on him pretty easily. And we're only in year 2. And so again, it's a product of your environment as well. Yeah. Because people were also counting out Todd Bowles. You and I both know this. People have been calling for Todd Bowles to be fired.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since he took over. Yeah. I mean, it's just Bruce Arians stepped aside. Like nobody was crazy about Todd Bowles. Now, all of a sudden, oh, wait, our defense is okay. Not great, but the defense is okay. The offense is killing it. And so now that hushed that up real quick.
Yeah.
Because now Todd Bowles is coming off as one of the great coaches in the NFL.
Yeah, my Facebook feed has completely changed.
Right, but it takes a while to do that.
Yeah.
Because again, we see kind of the early stages of that and what's happening at UNC Chapel Hill, right? Mm-hmm. With Bill Belichick. We know Bill Belichick's a great coach, but it's only year 1. Like, what are people really expecting to come out of year 1? Even in my own job where I'm working at now, like, I didn't really feel like I had a handle on my job until about a year and a half in. And then I felt like I was hitting a stride.
Yeah.
And now I was like, oh, now I get it. Now I've got this place figured out.
Yeah. And
so when UNC comes out and Bill Belichick comes out and they say, yeah, no, we're in this for the long haul. This is a process. You can't subject yourself, to the criticism of the masses and think that you're going to build something great overnight.
Yeah.
And I think this is that example. And who knows? I think to some extent, the jury's still out on Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
But if Todd Bowles brings Tampa a Super Bowl along with Baker Mayfield, that's it. Conversation's over.
That's the combo. He's
now a Super Bowl winning coach.
Yeah.
And so as we've seen with many other coaches, Parcells and, doesn't matter how crappy the rest of your career is, you are still a Super Bowl winning coach.
You're capable of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did it. You've been there. You went to the big show and you won it. Mm-hmm. Right? Because, again, what's the biggest criticism of one of my favorite players? Dan Marino. Never went to the big show.
Yep.
Never won a Super Bowl. Which is sad. Because that is the equivalent, I'd say to some extent, prior to Tom Brady, that is the equivalent of, let's say, Michael Jordan never going to a national championship.
Yeah. That would be a big problem.
To never see him on that stage, right?
Yeah.
Like, how disappointing is that?
Yeah, because that's clutch.
Yeah.
That's where clutch is. That's where
But it also shows you, how much more of a complicated game football is to basketball.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because it's physical, but it's also tactical.
Yeah.
And there's because baseball is not as physical. It's very explosive. It's very strategic, and it's very tactical. And it's slow paced until it's not slow paced.
Right.
Football's fast paced. But there's this chess type of environment constantly from beginning of the game to the end of the game. They'll do things wrong on purpose just to get ahead.
Well, like me, like I still, even as a casual football fan, I still don't understand the running game. Right? Like I understand the opportunity that if this person makes it through this line of defenders, hey, open season, right? Yeah. Like you're going to get 10 yards, or whatever, 15, or maybe even a touchdown. But the fact that it's so counterintuitive that I'm going to give you the ball and I'm going to say, hey, go run through those guys right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For just 1, maybe 2 yards, to me is so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Like, to me, if I were a coach or a quarterback, I'd be throwing every single down.
Yeah.
Because to me, that makes sense.
It's like, what do you weigh? 190? Okay, there's 800 pounds that I need you to go through.
Yeah. And that's the part of me that still doesn't understand football is the running game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now I understand when they go out to the sides, when that sort of thing. But when they run it up the middle, that will never make sense to me.
See, that's where strategy is at the mercy of talent.
Yeah.
Because you can have all the strategy of this is what we need to do. Can that guy do it?
Right.
If he can do it,
because your offensive line has to split the C's, right? Mm-hmm. They have to split that defensive line to give you that opening to squeeze through. But again, to me, like, I'm thinking, why go through all that trouble when you could just throw it?
Yeah. I mean,
and that's just years of playing soccer, right? Because soccer's so different in that sense.
It is.
Where it's one-on-one. Like, no matter what position you play on that field, it's one-on-one. Whereas this is not.
Yeah. See, but it's the same example in baseball. People get bunting. Why would you ever bunt?
Oh, that took me a long time to appreciate.
Oh yeah.
Because I was a hitter.
Yeah.
When I played baseball, I could smack that ball.
Yeah.
And so whenever my coaches told me to bunt, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why would I bunt when I can smack the hell out of the ball into the outfield? And so it took me a long time to really appreciate bunting.
Oh man, when you have a Ricky Henderson, when you have a Kenny Lofton, when you have a player who just does it so
right,
boop, and the ball falls 1 foot in front of him, that thing was going 97 miles an hour, and you stopped it.
Yeah,
and you got to first before anyone could, and you advanced the guy on first. They
it's
made
like
an
superpower
error.
levels. I mean, that's
It really is.
Yeah,
and also, I played baseball, and to stick your face in front of, it's like,
right.
Well,
to try to hit something that's coming at you at 80 to 100 miles an hour. You know what I mean? I mean, that
could move in to you, could move away from you.
Yeah.
It's, it's crazy. And then there's people that are so good that can bunt with purpose.
Right. But the hand-eye coordination that it takes to do that.
That's where talent meets strategy. Right. So it's literally the same thing as a small ball game in football. It's like, you just want 3 yards.
Right.
Boop, boop, boop. I mean, there's 3 behemoths in front of you that are going to squash you, but
and again, when I watch, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It's like, even like when you see Tom Brady, execute a running play, it's like, why? You've got Tom Brady. Yeah. Throw the ball.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, that's why I never played football. It just, so much of the game, personally, to me, just didn't make sense.
And Tampa, and that's one, to bring this up, Tampa is the essence of Tampa. Tampa's a football town.
Yeah.
That's why the Rays don't do well here.
Well, that's all. Well, that's a whole nother conversation because I can make the argument that that's just Florida in general.
Yeah. And where baseball would do really, really, really well? Orlando.
True. Good point.
The Colombians, Puerto Ricans, Venezuelans.
No football team.
No football.
Right.
But we have, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Cuba, Dominican Republic, we have our own Caribbean series of baseball.
Yeah.
That's our sport.
Right.
So if you take a place like Orlando and you put a team in Orlando.
Which is all the more reason why it doesn't work in St. Petersburg. And again, it's a huge topic that, but St. Petersburg is not a baseball town anymore.
No, not at all.
Was it in the early part of the 1900s? Maybe through, let's say, even just that whole century. Okay, maybe. But it's not anymore. That's not what St. Pete is anymore.
Yeah, I remember looking these statistics up, and St. Pete is 9% Hispanic. 9.
Right.
And these are probably like 3rd, 4th, 5th generation Hispanics.
They'd be better off moving it to Oldsmar.
Yeah, for real.
And I mean, this is where we lose people who are not from Tampa Bay. But all that to say, I think anywhere other than Pinellas County, I think, they would do better. But, and again, I could do a whole show on this because, again, I was born and raised a Marlins fan. I was there on draft day when the expansion draft happened, like at the stadium. Wow. I worked for the Marlins for 5 years. You know what I mean? And so I knew that moving them down to Miami, to practically downtown Miami, was not going to do anything for them. Because just Miami is just not that kind of town. Miami's also like, even when the Dolphins are terrible, they'll still get a decent crowd.
Yeah.
Right. But Miami is so much about so many other things. Sports is like not even in the top 5.
And Cubans are weird. And I'll clear this up why they're weird. Cuban baseball players, Cuban baseball success is more recognized by Puerto Rico, Dominican, Colombia, and Venezuela than it is by Cubans.
Right.
So, historically, Cubans are considered to be the whitest Hispanics out of all these, They are the whitest Hispanics. Yeah. All the best baseball players from Cuba are what? Black.
Yeah.
The best pitcher to come out of Cuba, Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah.
Black, tall, muscular. If you want to flaunt anything, music in Cuba, Celia Cruz.
Even with Colombia.
What was she? Black. Colombia, the same thing. All the baseball players.
Right.
All the baseball players. And all the singers. I mean, you put like the salsa singers.
Well,
Joe Arroyo is like the biggest guy.
Yes. I mean, he's the icon. Right?
Yeah, he's the icon.
But you look at Shakira and Carlos Vives, and
you get a little bit of.
All right, well, we're going down a rabbit hole.
But in Cuba, like the big hitters out of Cuba have always been black, and it's like, when you look at Miami, Cubans are not going to support baseball like that.
Right.
They're not.
No, they don't have that attachment.
No.
To baseball.
It was taken away a long time ago.
Right. No, and look, and even the fact that Colombia even has had professional baseball players is shocking to me.
Yeah.
Because
Renteria, I think.
I went from the time I was born until I was about 17, 18 years old. I would go every summer to Colombia. And I can guarantee you I never saw a single baseball diamond.
Yeah, they're rare.
Well, and they're mostly in the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean part, yep.
Yeah, which that whole history I think has got to be fascinating. I don't know it, but the reason for that's got to be pretty interesting.
And it's primarily the what area of Colombia?
Yeah, the black area.
That's the black area.
Right.
So it's like,
because slave trade and all that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. And they're amazing players. That was Edgar Renteria is the one that was
right.
like really, really strong.
Played for the Marlins. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, man, it's interesting how, things play out. And when you look deep down into why, there's lots of reasons why things don't, like Tampa's going to be a football town. It always will be.
I definitely would say if it,
and hockey.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Lightning, on average, I wouldn't be surprised, even though their stadiums are significantly different. But now you got me curious, and I'm going to look it up. On average, I would guarantee you that the Lightning probably have a larger, consistent crowd than even the Buccaneers.
We do have a lot of northern presence here.
Well, not only that, when the Bucs suck, nobody's going to those games.
Yeah, no.
Same for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Again, I worked at that stadium for 5 years when it was Marlins and Dolphins. Miami is a bandwagon town. And I don't mean that in the sense that they're going to jump onto whatever team is popular, but they're not going to come to your game if you are not playing well.
It's whatever activity's popular at the moment.
Well, no, there's just so much to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of alternatives.
There's just so much other stuff to do. Like, why am I going to go spend my money to watch a baseball team that sucks, when I could be at the beach, or I could be brunching, or I could be shopping, or I could be, there's a million things to do.
Or dancing TikTok videos.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But, and that's the thing with Miami.
Yeah.
Like the Panthers, who just won the Stanley Cup, there was already rumors of what's the two? Oh, right. So they just won, back-to-back Stanley Cup, right? Before that, they were in talks of getting a new arena because nobody was coming to the games. Mm. And of course, the solution to every sports team is nobody's coming to our game, so we need a new arena.
Yeah.
That's their solution for everything.
No one comes to our house, so we need a bigger house.
Right. Yeah. That's 100%. Exactly right. Guess what? They don't need a new arena anymore, do they?
Yeah.
They won back-to-back Stanley Cups, and now they sell out. And you ride that wave, right, for a year or two. But again, like on average, I would say the Lightning probably have higher attendance than even the Buccaneers do.
Probably. More consistent for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean on average,
Yeah.
But Tampa's the same way. If you suck, nobody's coming to your games. Mm-mm. Now, don't get me wrong. The Rays, again, the anomaly.
They can do
Even when
great.
they're good,
No one goes.
they still suffer.
Yeah. I honestly don't know how.
And even at Steinbrenner, which is a minor league field, they couldn't. There were dates where they weren't sold out there.
Yet the Yankees fill it up.
Right. Oh no, the Yankees are sold out.
Yeah.
Like before the season even starts.
Yeah.
But the Rays couldn't fill it up for a regular season, like on a consistent basis. You're talking about. I mean, I don't know if you can you look it up. How many seats are at Steinbrenner Field? It's got to be about 15,000.
It's small, yeah.
It's about 15,000.
Yeah, 12, 15,000 probably.
Which, don't get me wrong, when they've been talking about the new stadium, they've been saying, okay, we're only going to build it to about 20, 25,000 people. Which to me, 11. And they can't sell out every game.
Yeah. That's rough.
And I've been on the inside of these sports teams. They count the janitors, they count the employees, they count, like every single body, they put into that attendance number.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me that they can't sell out every game at Steinbrenner Field, and yet they want a new stadium?
Yeah, that's not going to work. It also shows you that it's not the community as much as it is the soul of the team, because the Yankees are filling up. I mean,
but it's also, look, I mean, Vinnick, who just kind of recently stepped aside, to an extent with the Lightning, was a great owner. Mm-hmm. He invested a lot of money, and he probably didn't make a lot of money on the Lightning. I mean, I'm sure for us he made a lot of money, but for him, he probably didn't make a lot of money. By business standards.
It was a good tool for influence.
Well, I'm sure what he sold is where he made his money.
Yeah.
But on an annual basis, he probably wasn't making a whole lot of money. But that continual investment in not only the team, but the facilities, because he was updating that arena every 3 to 5 years.
And all of Channelside, the Water Street, all that.
Every 3 to 5 years, he was investing money into keeping that place up to date. And keeping it nice and keeping it, and how does that pay off? Well, because you have almost a sellout. You almost have a sellout season.
Yeah,
and that's how you get rewarded. But when your baseball team is comprised mostly of like players that nobody's ever heard of because they're just coming up out of minor leagues, and you're like the scrappy team every year that makes it on the smallest budget possible.
Yeah. 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's again, like, then why do you expect the community to invest in you if you're not even willing to invest in you?
Yeah. If I were the Rays, I would go in like an all-out grassroots Hispanic campaign.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I would go more.
But they've tried some of that.
But they don't.
They had like the Venezuelan night and the Colombian night and this and that. But
it's not done right. I can tell you.
Not only that, but you could give me free tickets to the Rays. It could be Rays Yankees, and I'm still going to think about it probably about 30 times before I decide whether I want to go or not.
Yeah,
just based on the drive alone.
Yeah, the drive is definitely a precursor to a questionable.
Just the whole thing.
Questionable experience, yeah.
Just the whole thing. Like getting down there and then finding a place to park. And then, the stadium is just terrible. And, I get it. That makes the argument for a new stadium. But still, like, it's just not a great experience.
Logistically, it just is not the right place.
You go to a Lightning game. Man, that's fun.
Yeah.
You give me free tickets to Lightning, I'm there.
Yeah.
I will move mountains to go to a Lightning game.
Get there in a scooter.
Yeah. I have. I've done that.
Yeah.
I've piggybacked my daughter on a scooter.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you give me, I'm there. And it's not because of the drive. It's because, you know what? I know I'm going to go and I'm going to have a great time. And it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be like, even if I have no idea what's going on, which again, like, my knowledge of hockey is even less than football. But I know that I'm going to have a good time. And I know, I mean, again, I know when somebody scores, somebody doesn't score.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know enough to enjoy the game.
And then you finish the game and you've got all downtown Tampa.
Yeah.
To, bars,
especially
now. With
Water Street.
Yep. Smartman Wharf there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense. It's
now downtown St. Pete has gotten a lot better. But it's not that close. it's still almost like an Uber ride from the stadium to get to downtown.
And it's and that space between the stadium and downtown St. Pete, there's some questionable characters.
Yeah. Well, look, honestly, the only reason Ferg's is as popular as it is because it's, for the longest time, it was the only choice around the stadium to go to. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't get me wrong, Ferg's is a cool place. But for years, that was like the only place to go to before or after a game in that neighborhood. And if you ventured too far away from Ferg's, you were probably going to be walking into some trouble.
Yeah. It's there's some dark alleys in that area.
But anyways, excited about the Bucs. We'll see if they can keep it going.
It'll be a real like organic season,
dude. If they can finish this season, which would be a monumental, and I'm not even asking for this because it's almost unrealistic. But if they can finish the season with only one loss, Baker will be like legend in Tampa for forever. He will be, because again, the expectations are different. But I'm excited.
Yeah.
Because we've earned it. And not that we didn't earn it with Tom, but again, the expectations were different.
Yeah.
Like, we had Tom Brady. Like, you bet your ass we're going to a Super Bowl. Like, that was the expectation.
Exactly.
Like, it would have been a bigger disappointment to have not gone to the Super Bowl. Like, that was it. Like, there was no halfway.
And the thing about Tom is he's talented, but he's also a workhorse.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
guy's obsessive.
That's what you need in that position.
Yeah.
You got to be a leader that's, hands in the dough.
But this is going to be so much of a sweeter win if we can get the Bucs to the Super Bowl. Because right now, at least based on highlights, if you just watch the highlights from this past weekend, the Bucs do look better than every single team out there.
Yeah.
And, and it's funny because I still think in a lot of ways nationally, people look down on Tampa. They don't look at us as a real city. But how many championships do you need to win? You know what I mean? Like we've got how many Stanley Cups and we've got, Super Bowls and, World Series and no, we don't have any World Series.
No. No, but I mean, we're a tech town. We're a recognized tech town.
No, and all that has, honestly, I feel that all of that stuff in terms of how we've grown in terms of a business community and, and kind of grown up in that way, I think has been as a result of it. You know what I mean? Of being out, like people talking about us.
Have you heard of that rapper Doechii?
Yes.
From won a Grammy last year. She won a Grammy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, from what's the high school?
Blake
High School.
Yeah.
And it's like she went on there. She goes, I'm from Tampa.
All right.
Go down to Tampa. There's lots of talent. So I think we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, the problem is we have the same problem Orlando has. People come here and they think that we're Busch Gardens.
Yeah, exactly.
And look, if that's your impression of Tampa, which I had that impression for a long time coming from Miami.
Yeah.
Like that is the completely wrong impression of Tampa.
It is.
That couldn't be farther from what Tampa really is.
The story is always like, oh, yeah, we finished at Busch Gardens. We went across the street. Oh, it was a dump.
Oh, why would you? Yeah, why would you do that?
Tampa's a dump. And it's like, you were up there.
Yeah.
You were in Suitcase City, bro. Like, you never came down to Tampa.
Like, if all you've ever done is go to Orlando, go to Disney, and go to Universal, you don't realize that's not Orlando.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's not even the real world.
No, it's not. It's not the real
Quite
world.
Literally. I mean, that's not Orlando.
It's a giant Legoland.
It
really is.
I mean, Orlando does have an identity outside of the theme parks that I think a lot of people underestimate as well.
Yeah.
And
it just so happens that almost every Puerto Rican that I know has a middle name of Orlando. It's crazy. I got Eric Orlando, John Orlando, Mike Orlando. So my uncle's Hector Orlando.
Oh my God! Even though they're all from Kissimmee.
Yeah, exactly. They're all called Orlando. And they're from Kissimmee and Poinciana.
All right. Thanks again to Marcos Rivera. Again, going to be a regular here on the Yard Sign. Thank you to everybody. We went way long today, so sorry about that, but it was great conversations. Thank you for listening, watching from wherever you may be doing so. Please remember to like, subscribe, and follow us across social media. You can find the audio version of the podcast on all the major platforms, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts. The numbers again on YouTube are fantastic. Make sure you look for us on YouTube as well. We will be back here next Thursday, hopefully with an able David Cabrera. And if you have suggestions on topics, feel free to hit us up, message us on any of the platforms, and we'll be sure to kind of incorporate it into the show. We'd love to get your feedback on that. So, on behalf of Patriot Mike, Marcos, Johnny Torres, thank you so much for watching. So long, everybody. Goodbye.